everyone. Welcome to Newgen Innovators podcast. Well, I'm Runki Goswami, the Global Marketing Head for Newgen, and I have with me here Mr. Pramod Kumar, who heads the business for overall APAC. So, the idea of this podcast is to talk a little bit on the transformative journey in this region. We've been over 10 years here now. So, Pramod, you're going to help us understand what works here, what doesn't work, the motivations that have brought us to this market, and of course, who knows everything better than you. So first of all, let me welcome you.
Thanks a lot, Runki. I'm thrilled to share Newgen's APAC story, and I'll be happy to take your questions and try to answer them throughout this journey.
So let's begin with the motivations that have brought you to this region, given that we are a decade here now. So anything that you might want to talk about?
So, as a product company, one of our main charters were, or one of our main, I'd say, goals were that we wanted to be there in 100 countries. So we want to prove our product and we wanted to be globally acclaimed. So we thought that 100 countries is a number that we should be targeting to, and that was one of our goal statements if you look at. So with that, we had done well in India. I think we established ourselves in India. Majority of the banks were using our solution. Then the second logical region that we moved to was Middle East and Africa because of the similarities that it shared with India and kind of ecosystem that we had in Middle East. So that was our second stop. From there, US was a logical stop for us because the kind of market, 60% of the market for digital transformation or the kind of solutions that we were pitching was US. So US was our third geography, I would say, where we moved. And after that, APAC was the logical place where we wanted to move. Multiple reasons for moving to APAC. First, of course, there was a kind of similarities in the market in APAC. So APAC, if you look at it's a conglomeration of multiple different countries. It's a good mix of both developed economy as well as developing economy. So at one end, we have Singapore, which is a developed country. On other hand, we have Indonesia, which is a developing country, which is the fourth most populous country in the world. We have Philippines, we have Malaysia. These are all developing countries. We have Hong Kong, which is a developed country. So proximity, a lot of possibilities out there in the market. And of course, there were certain waves that we were kind of tracking, and those waves also held us. So when we started way back, I think roughly around 2010-11, in 2012-13, roughly around that, there was a wave of check truncation that was there in Philippines. And that is where we had done very good in India. So most of the banks in India were using our solution for check truncation. So we thought check truncation would be a right solution with which we can move to Philippines. And that's where we started moving to Philippines. And if you remember at that point of time, roughly around 2010-11, there was a huge wave of what I would say setting up of shared services for all large global organizations. So Malaysia and Philippines, these were the two hubs where majority of the shared services were being set up. And the kind of transformation products that we had, I think we were kind of pioneers in helping BP organizations or shared services organizations in kind of centralization of that work and automation of the entire processes that were taken by these shared services. So these led to our movement to the APAC market. The first investment that we did was we moved to Singapore. We set up a subsidiary office in Singapore. That's the first country where we started our operations. And I think we did our basic homework. We identified in all the countries, we identified which should be the right set of partners that we should be working with. We identified the local partners. We made relationships with them. We signed contracts with them to work on, and they were quite happy to have us as a product company into the areas that we were operating. So that was the first step that we took. Soon we realized that if we have to operate out of this region, we cannot just rely on Singapore. We need to have feet on street in each of these countries. So we hired local people out in each country. So we had a lean team structure in each of these countries. So whether it is Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, Hong Kong. So we hired a lean team structure out there. And as and when we grow, we kept on increasing our team. So glad to share that now, cut to 2025, we have a good team structure out there in Singapore, roughly 30 people that are operating out of Singapore, and another 10 which would be there in each of these countries. We have a good set of around 75 customers, and happy to share that we have customers in all these 7 countries where we are operating. From 2011, where we started in APAC, to 2024-25 as we talk, Newgen APAC contributes around 15% of the overall revenues for Newgen. So that has been our journey. Every journey would have its ups and downs. So we also had our fair share of ups and downs. I think initially when we came to this market, the biggest challenge that we faced was around market perception. I think most of the large banks and insurance organizations in this region were quite used to working with the US brand of IT organizations. They had never heard of an Indian product company, so for them it was something which was very new. I think around that same time, because of the good work that we had done in India and in Middle East, that was the time around we started getting noticed by a lot of large organizations, and we also started participating in various analyst reports. So the Gartners and the Forresters happened at that point of time. That also helped us, because these are reports which are typically read by all CIOs and all CXOs in large organizations. So that helped us. And if you look at our vision, customer centricity is our first point in our vision statement. And true to that, I think the kind of work that we did with our customers, so the initial few customers, the kind of business benefits that we brought about in them. And these markets are very small markets in the sense it's a very closely knit community. And when they started talking about us, the benefits or the values that we brought through our solution within their organization, I think from word of mouth it started moving. And as I told you, there were certain waves also that helped us. I think the check truncation, what it helped was, because check truncation was something, it was a regulatory requirement. So all banks would have to implement the check truncation, and that's how. So that gave us an opportunity to at least be in front of all banks in Philippines. So we spoke to all, so roughly around 20 different banks we spoke to, we showed our solution. And we got selected in few of those banks. But what it did was at least made us connected with all these 20 banks. So they knew about our solution, they knew about our product, what are the various good things around our product. And whether we won or we lost, during the entire journey that we did with them, which was giving them demos, which was giving them proof of concept, the kind of customer friendliness that we brought in, the kind of effort that we took to meet their requirements, that's what I believe won their heart. So if not for this requirement, they did call us for all other requirements which followed. So I think this helped us a lot. And I think one thing also which has helped us in our 12-13 years of journey is the perseverance. So if you look at one thing which I'm very proud of is the core team that we had set is more or less intact. So we have made additions in that core team, but the primary core team that we started with is still intact, and they know everyone in the market. Everyone in the market knows them.
These are some very interesting highlights that you're throwing. One more highlight, if you can talk about any particular milestone, any wow moment that you might want to talk about, or more than one moment maybe. There could be several such wow moments. Any particular? So yes.
So in this last 12-13 years, have been very lucky. There have been lots of milestones, lot of great achievements that we are really, really proud of. So APAC for Newgen is one of the fastest growing market. So you can see that right from zero, within 12-13 years, APAC now contributes around 15% in the overall revenues for Newgen. And though this number 15% looks small, but if you look from the perspective that Newgen in itself has been growing at a very, very rapid pace. So our CAGR, I think, is roughly around 25%. So in such kind of a growth environment, from zero, we have moved to 15%. So we have been growing at a real fast pace. If I talk about H1 for 2024-25, we have grown roughly around 50% plus. That's the kind of growth that we have been witnessing. Having 75 customers within a span of 10-12 years in itself is a great achievement. I think only a handful of companies would have achieved that kind of a logo. And out of these 75 customers, if you look at, these are some of the renowned logos, and we are there in all the 7 countries. All top leading banks in these 7 countries are using our solution. So that's one great satisfaction and milestone that we are there. If you look at Singapore particularly, I think the kind of success that we have achieved is kind of unparalleled. So we are working with roughly around 10 ministries, and these are all key strategic projects that we are working with them, and some of the very large projects. In fact, we won the largest deal last year in the Singapore government space. That has been the largest deal for Newgen that we worked on. If you talk about Philippines as a country, I think very proud to share that out of top 15 banks, 10 banks use our solution. So different bank using us for different solution area. That's another great achievement that we have been able to see. If you look at our customers, I think some of the Fortune 100 organizations are using our solution. These are large multinational regional banks that are using our solution. And from a customer portfolio, if I look at from a Newgen perspective, out of top 5 most revenue giving customers, I think top 2 come from this region. So these are some of the milestones, Runki, I feel, which we are very, very proud of.
Well, we took us through the journey. You spoke about interesting milestones. You spoke about some obstacles. You took us through the entire thing that happened around check truncation, that is. Let's hear a little about competition. How are we different from the competitors here? Any value props that you can talk about? Yeah, some light on that.
So you see, we face competition from 2 sides typically. One is on the platform side, where we face competition in the low-code space, where we face competition in the business process management space, where we face competition in the enterprise content management space, where we face competition in the customer communication management space. So this is around the platform, wherein organizations are using these platforms for their digital transformation journey. On the second side, we face competition from very specific business problems. So whether it is loan origination, whether it is trade finance, whether it is onboarding journeys, or if we talk about insurance, whether it is claims management, whether it is new business, whether it is agency management. So between, for BFSI, if I talk about bank and insurance, we would have roughly around 100 plus different solution accelerators that we have. And for all these 100 plus, we face different type of competition. So it's not one competition that we face, it's a mix of competition. And again, on the platform space, if you look at, majority of the competition comes from a global perspective. So you see these company, we competing against them in all the regions. So whether it is APAC, whether it is India, whether it is US, whether it is Middle East or Africa, we find similar kind of competition. But when we talk about specific problems, then we have some local companies from which we face competition. So there are organizations which are specific, or fintechs which are very specific to countries, and we face competition. How are we countering these competition? I think the first thing that we do and which makes us very, very different as against any of our competition is what I say is we own the success. So we don't say to the customer that here is our product and this is our partner who would do the implementation. We tell them we own the success of this entire program. So we would also be skin deep into the program. So whatever it takes, so whether it's a local partner that is doing the implementation or it's a global system integrator that is doing the implementation, we'll partner with them and ensure whatever business objectives that the customer has set for himself are met. So that's one big difference that we bring in, I think, and that comes from our management, which says that no matter what happens, we have to make the project successful. And that's why you see that our customers are very, very sticky in nature. So we have customers which are with us for more than 25 years. And in this region also, if I look at all my earlier customers, all of them are with us. So most of them would be some 10 plus years that are working with us. They started with one specific solution and now they have proliferated into multiple different solutions that they are using. So that's one major difference between us and the competition. Second, I would say is when we talk about Newgen One as a platform, it encompasses everything that is required for any organization for the digital transformation journey. So it has components for the front end. If you want to build a portal around it, you want to automate your process, so completely without writing any code, you can automate the entire process. You want to have forms, you want to have rules, you want to have reports. So whatever tools that are required, and the latest in our arsenal has been the AI. So we have our own AI engine that works along with all these transformation journey. So we are able to give our customer, or we are a one-stop shop for him. So he need not have to have multiple different products to kind of orchestrate and automate his journey. So that's another big advantage that we bring to our customer. And third is, if you look at from our R&D perspective, I think we are investing heavily. As an organization, I'm talking about 10% of our revenues, not profit. We are talking about 10% of our revenues are getting invested into and if you look at our growth of revenue, which is 25%. So every year, our spend on our R&D is increasing drastically. So which means that our tech is latest. We are bringing best. We are getting the latest domain experts. We are kind of next best things that are available in the market. So all of them are getting available for the customers. So that makes us unique from our competition.
So motivating and so interesting to hear you talk of all this, and I'm sure the viewers are enjoying as much as I am hosting this podcast. Well, your answer gives me a segue into my next question, which is more about localization.
Good.
Singapore is a very important market when it comes to overall APAC.
Good.
So any particular strategies, localization strategies that you adopt here, maybe for the government agencies or overall BFSI?
Yeah, I think Singapore for us was a unique market. So if you look at historically, we have been doing very, very good in banks and insurance organizations. That's where our forte has been. Though our solutions are horizontal in nature, and if I count the different verticals that we would have serviced, roughly the last count that I did was around 30 plus different verticals where we have serviced our customers. But banking and insurance and partly government had been our forte. But government, very limited. So we did government in India, we did government in Middle East. But typically we have been kind of very, very selective when we move to government in any of the countries. When we came here in Singapore, we realized that the number of banks out here are kind of, though it's a financial hub, but large organizations or very, very large banks which has a very large presence were limited. And when we explored, we identified that government is one sector which is kind of having a huge IT spend. And then we dig deep, what we find was, as against the typical norms that we have, that in government it's a lot of bureaucracy, decision making is kind of slow, you have to really get deep into. We found out here it was very, very transparent. The entire process of onboarding a vendor or coming out with an RFP or coming out with a decision was very, very transparent. And that's what I think kind of motivated us, that government is one space that we should definitely look at. And then we started working on the government space. We looked at what are the various requirements. We studied all the RFPs that were coming out. And then we realized that we can bucket for us. There are three kind of opportunities that are coming. typically one is which is coming from the regulatory perspective. So Singapore has got a regulatory requirement around records management, which is kind of monitored by, or they have a regulation which is National Archives of Singapore, which has defined the ways in which records have to be kept in Singapore, and this is mandatory for all government agencies. And record management is one space where we are kind of champion. We were kind of best in the world, and we were certified for DoD, we were certified for VRS. So we thought this is a great space because one, it gives us access to all the ministries. So that's where we started. That was one bucket. The second bucket that we realized was around case management. So case management typically is where you require a lot of ad hoc working. So there are a lot of knowledge workers that are required in case. So it could be an investigative case management, it could be a policy decision making, it could be around grants. So this was the second bucket that we created for us. And then the third bucket that I think one thing good out here in Singapore government is that they have a clear roadmap. So for all applications that they are using, there's a roadmap. Typically every 5 to 7 years, they would go for an IT refresh cycle for that. So that kind of provide us a leeway or a doorway where we can enter. And in IT, 7 years is a huge space wherein the technology would be changed and everything. So we realized that modernization is another theme that we can cater on to. So these were the three themes that we worked on in Singapore, and glad to share that we are doing some of very, very strategic deals in Singapore government. Some of these implementations, I would say, the internal ranking that they have for it, it's kind of confidential. So those are the kind of projects, and I think we are very lucky that they have shown such respect for our product and solution and adopted them, and we are kind of giving them the business benefits that they have looked forward to.
Okay, Pramod, so as we were talking, you mentioned that Newgen has over 75 customers in overall APAC, that is. So would you want to talk about some successful stories and also maybe some of the solutions that we provided to these customers?
Yeah. See, as a product organization, if you look at the biggest satisfaction that we draw is when we see our customers and when they talk about the business benefits that they have drawn using our solution. So you should look at some of our customer meets when these customers come and they talk about. I think most of the times we ourselves could not judge that these are the kind of business benefits that our customers have been able to bring in front. So broadly, if I look at from customer perspective, there are 4 areas where we are helping our customers broadly come out with. So these 4 areas, I would say, first one is around customer experience, wherein they are able to kind of bring seamless customer experience for their customers. Second is around improving the operational efficiencies. Third is, I would say, around, is the compliances, wherein they are able to meet 100% of their compliance requirements. And fourth and foremost, and I think the most important one is around the innovation that they are able to bring in inside their organization using our products and solutions. So I'll talk a bit about all of these, and then probably I'll give some stories or some customer success stories I'll discuss. So customer experience, if you look at, I think the way we are bringing in about customer experience for their customers is, one is a seamless process. So if it's a customer onboarding process, we look at from an outside in perspective and try to identify what are the various friction points that are there. How can we remove those rough edges which are there, and we can have a seamless experience for the customers. So some of the ways in which you can measure is by the turnaround times or the SLAs. So say, for example, a customer was onboarded, it was taking 5 days. Can we reduce it to few minutes? So that would be our target. So the way for onboarding journeys for some of our customers from days we have brought it to minutes. So that's the kind of, so which means that seamlessly integrating the front end, the middle office and the back office. Okay. If I talk about operational efficiencies, I think we have championed that concept of having centralized back offices. So our products, using our products and solutions, I think for most of these banks, for most of these insurance organizations, they have been able to kind of create a centralized back office for most of their operations, which in turn means, say for example, if you talk about some of the specialized services, which were possible only in few branches because you required some specialized people to service that kind of a thing. So instead of doing that, what we said to our customers is you can bring all your experts at a central location and your front office only becomes requirement taking from the customer. And these centralized people would be able to service all requests from all your branches. So the services which you are giving from very specific branches, you would be able to give that service from all your branches. So which was a huge for their customer experience as well as for their operational efficiencies also. Since we moved people from different branches, these experts you have at a centralized location, we improved the operational efficiencies a lot. From compliances perspective, if you look at, since the entire automation, the solution it tracks each and every activity, it tracks each and every decision making. So you have complete 100% auditability. So whenever a third party wants to audit, or even the organization wants to audit how this decision was made, it can look at, from an entire process, it can look at who did what. Even if there was slightest change that was done, either in the application or in decision making, that could be tracked. So that brought in kind of 100% compliance with what all audit requirements are there. Innovation, I think, if an organization has to launch a new product or a new service, it can be done quickly because it's a low-code kind of a solution. Things can be done very fast. So initially, if they were taking months to launch a product or service, now they're able to do within weeks because those could be configured very fast. So these are the 4 areas where we think we have brought a lot of value for our customers. Talking about our customers, so kind of let me group them into 2 different buckets. One wherein kind of we provided them platform and they have been able to use the platform to kind of automate multiple different processes. So this is a regional bank. It's a large bank in Singapore. We started our journey with them, I think, some 7 years back. And currently, as we speak, apart from their core banking solution, all other processes, whether it is around loans, whether it is around remittances, whether it is around corporate onboarding, whether it is around Forex, all of the process. So it's, I think, more than 50 plus different processes that they have automated onto our platform. So we are next to kind of core for them. And the extent that is there is we are touching each and every employee of that particular bank. Similarly, one of a very large multinational bank in Singapore, they have kind of, for their operational efficiencies, they are using our solution to automate all their middle office processes. So these middle office processes, typically in most of the organizations, what they will do is they'll create a middle office with the idea that there would be operational efficiencies because they are bringing experts centrally. But there are a lot of manual work and there are a lot of, I would say, interaction with different applications. So they used our platform to identify whatever manual work can be automated. Can we automate it by integrating with it, or can we automate by extracting some data from different applications, or can we automate the entire process altogether? So they have automated more than 30 different processes as we speak. And the good thing is, all of these processes I was looking at and was talking to them, the maximum code that has been written for any of the process is not more than 200 lines of code. So that's the kind. So they have been kind of coming out with process within 2 weeks, 3 weeks. That's the time frame. And interestingly, every year I think we participate in some of these industry events, and in all these industry events we have our customers which are nominated for the kind of work that they have done, and they are winning lot of applauds, and they are getting lot of successes around them. Recently I was there in Philippines. Two of our customers got award in that. One of them did their entire auto lending journey right from when we signed the contract to their go live celebration in which I went. It took them only 3 months, right from start to going live. And in their go live, they had called all their dealers of auto across Philippines had come for that journey. Similarly, during the same duration, I was talking to another bank in Philippines. They were going live with 3 critical applications simultaneously. So that's the power of the platform that we are bringing to our customers. So this is on the platform side. Then there are customers who started with one specific business problem. So it could be around, say for example, it's only an onboarding journey. So they started it. The good thing with us is all these solution accelerators, the foundation layer is our platform. So by default, even if they buy a particular solution accelerator, by default, they get the platform. So today they use it for one particular, but they can use the platform to do other things also. And so they start with one particular problem, and then they gradually go on using into multiple different problems. So they can start with customer onboarding, then they can go on for collections, they can go on for different type of onboarding journeys, they can go on for middle office, back office automation. So that's how we have been helping our customers in the region. One thing, one use case I missed out. I think that's again an interesting, that's an interesting use case, and which we never thought. I think with one of the insurance organizations, they had to make live their product because their regulatory compliances. So if you have to launch a product, there's a given duration in which you have to launch that particular product. And I think they had somewhere around 3 months when they had to launch this product, and they had yet not selected any vendor. And when we started talking to them, they said our first criteria is that we have to go live. So we said, okay, we'll go live within 3 months. That's our promise that we do. And I think within 2.5 months, we were able to go live with that particular problem. The power that they saw in the solution is they said, okay, if you can do this, why can't we have our core insurance on our product? We said we have not done core insurance onto our product, but he said that your product is transformative. Why can't? If we provide you the necessary requirements, can you do that? So we said, okay, why not? Let's try. And today, their entire core insurance is running onto our platform.
Fantastic.
So that's the kind of, with one of the Singapore ministries, I think we are working with one of a large SIs out there, and they are kind of doing complete transformation of their finance. So finance, if you look at, there are 2 sides to it. One is the payment side to it, and one is the collection side to it. So all processes around the payments, all processes around the collections are getting transformed onto our product.
So one element that we spoke about, and that's also been a buzzword somewhere or the other, maybe a little latent and somewhere very loud out here, and the word is modernization that you spoke about. And when you talk about modernization, you can also probably bring in the element of a lot of legacy ECM journeys or migrations that we would have taken up. Could you talk about this, probably a trend that you've seen, kind of migrations that have happened in this space?
I think ECM is something which is very, very close to our heart.
By the way, to our viewers, ECM, Enterprise Content Management.
Yeah. So ECM is something which is very, very close to our heart, because when we started 32 years back, we started as an imaging organization. I myself kind of specialize in imaging and personally hold many patents in this, and I had done specialization in this particular thing. So that holds a very special space for us. And if you look at today in the enterprise content management space, we are kind of leaders. On the technology ranking, if you look at, we are the #1 organization. And this is one space which has seen a lot of mergers. So the initial organizations which were there 15 years back are no more there. It's only few of the organizations are there, and that too have kind of changed hands or moved from one VC to the another VC. So we have seen a lot of change. Only thing constant is Newgen has been constant in enterprise content management space, and I think majority of implementations for us in most of the countries is around enterprise content management. And so we see a lot of requirements because since we entered in APAC, I think quite late, and ECM is something which is kind of it's a system of record for most of the organizations. So most of the organizations would have it in some form or the other. So it can be a very structured way of doing it. It can be semi-structured way of doing it, but they would have something or the other for the enterprise content management. And with the latest, newest trends that are coming, the kind of potential that enterprise content management, I think some of the older applications or vendors are no more kind of supporting, and that's where we saw a lot of. And we have done migration from many of the old legacy applications to our application. And this is one space, Runki, wherein I see a huge potential, because you see, for any organization, enterprise content management means that your entire content or your entire knowledge is sitting into a repository. Okay. Now, the usage of that repository traditionally had been more from a compliance perspective, that if something is required, probably you have the record, you will be able to show that record, and decision making can be done. Or for your work in progress, you have the records, you have the documents, you had the content, the decision can be done fast. But now you look at for organizations which have a history of such content, which is over 20 years, 30 years, and now with generative AI and AI coming into space, it can uncover huge knowledge for that organization. So if we can have the generative AI working on this, and which we are doing with many of our customers now, which is very, very specific to that particular organization. We are not talking about generative AI as a general concept wherein you are just kind of getting knowledge from internet. It is catering to that specific organization, the knowledge for that specific. And we are seeing some drastic results out there, and the kind of response that we are getting is very, very huge. And I think this is AI, generative AI, at least in the enterprise content management space, it would help in two things. One, if you look at the type of content has also changed. Initially, content was typically paper, which has to be scanned, digitized, and put into it. Now, most of the content, I'll say, is born digital. So these would be all electronic files, these would be videos, audios, these would be social media documents, these would be posts that are out there. But you want to maintain all those knowledge, and you have to have. So first thing is you have right mechanism of getting that. So it should not be the previous way of working with enterprise content management was that someone would be filing in these content into a centralized repository. Now, if you want that proliferation to happen at the enterprise level, each person cannot file that and then index that. So these things have to go away. And this is where I think AI is helping a lot in automatically indexing these documents, getting the right index so that it could be searched out there. And then also kind of providing an interface to the customer where he can ask queries which are in natural languages. He can ask, say for example, if he's working on a case, he can typically ask, what are similar type of cases that we have worked which are similar to that? And the system would be able to fetch out all similar type of cases or what decisions have been done for similar type of cases. So I see this as a great space that is coming out to be.
Well, everything sounds so impressive, and it is impressive in fact. I have a last question though for you. So what are the priorities and the investment plans for APAC? Anything that you might want to talk about?
Okay. I think the very first priority for us is to maintain that hyper growth rate. I think that's the first thing that has been entrusted onto us, that you maintain that same rate going forward. Having said that, I think we talked about AI and all these things, which is opening up great space for us. So modernization is one space where we're seeing a lot of traction. Apart from these areas where we are making a lot of investments, so we have been doing very good in banks. I think insurance is another sector after COVID which has opened up. Insurance typically lagged banks initially in the IT investments, but now after COVID, they have realized that they have to really move up their game. And this is where a lot of opportunities are coming up. And the kind of, I think, domain expertise that we had built in banking, which helped us in building a lot of solution accelerators around banking. Insurance is another area that we are investing a lot. We have set up a center of excellence around insurance. We have hired a lot of talent around that. We have hired a lot of specialists around that. And we have come out with a lot of solution accelerators around insurance space. And we are seeing a lot of good traction around that. And if you look at APAC itself, you have all the global insurance organizations working out of here. So that is one sector where I see a lot of growth coming from. Two, right now there are 7 countries, and we have seen some very good successes in some countries. Other countries, we have seen success, but we would like to improve upon those success rates. So I think we would like to be seen in any country you see, there would be, I think, 20 banks. There would be minimally 20 banks that are there. So out of those 20 banks, we should be there in top 15 banks. So we would like to replicate the success in some of these countries, in all those other countries. We would like to replicate the success of Singapore in Hong Kong. That's another country where we would like to repeat the success. So typically, yes, these are the areas. And from technology front, I think a very I would say we are in the right time zone. The kind of spend that we are making in the AI space, you yourself have been doing a lot of work around the agentic AI. You have been talking to so many experts around that, and we see a lot of potential around that. And we have already coming out with solutions that are using the agentic. We are already coming out with a lot of AI embedded solution accelerators, which are so these are areas where we see a lot of traction, and this is where the next round of growth would be coming from APAC.
Wow. What a fantastic way to end this conversation. Well, to our viewers, I'm sure you've learned a lot of what we do. Learned a lot rather from the industry expert, Pramod here. Well, thank you for tuning in, and I promise to come up with many such episodes, and with that, signing off. Thank you again.
Thank you, viewers. Thank you.